Blessed Thursday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. And today we are looking at some of the parables of Jesus. And we've been in Matthew 13, which is kind of the center of Jesus's teaching in the Gospel of Matthew about what we should compare the kingdom of heaven to, or the kingdom of God, depending on translation. Matthew uses the term kingdom of heaven because of his reverence for the name of God. But in all of these parables that become the centerpiece, it is about planting. Why some succeed and others do not. And while it doesn't give us a clear answer in every case, it gives us an understanding of what happens. In the case of the sower and the seed, it is the soil that makes the difference. In the case of the wheat and the tares, it is the seed that makes the difference and the possibility of transformation. In one of the most famous ones, one of five that we'll have, they're smaller parables that finish our time together in Matthew 13. We have the sower and the mustard seed, and talking about the kingdom of God like the mustard seed. It's also recorded in Mark's Gospel, Mark chapter 4. And let us begin with verse 30. Jesus also said, "With what shall we compare the kingdom of God? And what parable will we use for it? It is like a mustard seed, which is the smallest of all the seeds of the earth. Yet when it is sown, it grows up and becomes the greatest of all shrubs, and puts forth large branches so that the birds of the air can make their nests in its shade." With many such parables, he spoke the words to them, that they were able to hear it. And he did not speak to them except in parables, but he explained everything in private to his disciples. Mark doesn't get into detail as Matthew does on his private dispositions with the disciples. But let's focus on this mustard seed. First of all, it is a very small seed. And while we might say that we might quibble with Jesus on whether it is the smallest of all seeds, at least for the most popular part of the illustration, it was a very small seed, and that is to the point of the parable. The disciples probably felt that they were small compared to the kingdoms of this world and to the immensity of this mission. Even with the worldwide fame of the Church of Christ, we still have an enormous mission ahead of us. And we wonder, what effect will our evangelism make? And so that's where Jesus talks about us as the people of God being a small seed. And it grows into a shrub. And that's what a mustard seed would be a shrub. But here's where it gets to be interesting. It says that the boughs of the shrub, not just branches, boughs normally that you'd find in a tree. And in fact, Matthew makes a little bit more of a distinction between, did the shrub turn into a tree? Or is it just a shrub that's as big as a tree? Once again, we don't want to get quibbled in the details, but it is unexpected growth. Growth so much that the birds of the air were able to find their nest in it. Now, some have argued, and I'll just say as an illustration why we get into this debate about it, that there is a shrub, a type of mustard seed shrub, that is big enough to house birds of the air. But I would look at this parable as saying it was unexpected to be that big so that the birds of the air were able to be in it. Regardless, it is a shrub that starts very small and grows into something unusually big and strong. And so that is what Jesus, I believe, is encouraging both the disciples back in the New Testament time of which this was written, and also encourages us. We might seem small compared to the things of this world. We might seem insignificant. Maybe we view ourselves as the smallest of all seed as far as impact is concerned. But do not doubt, if you and I have been called by the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, our influence is far greater than we could have ever imagined. And so it is this unexpectedness that we need to embrace if we are to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. You might seem yourself small, but don't worry. God has a great plan for the work that you do. There's the famous story of, I believe it was the Billy Graham's Sunday school teacher, and his name escapes me. But I know, as far as the Billy Graham lore is concerned, he is usually cited as someone who lived in the mountains of North Carolina where Billy grew up. It was close to where my uncle actually, ironically, pastored in that area, but it was in that area that this one gentleman, who was supposedly Billy Graham's Sunday school teacher, never left. In fact, some may argue that his impact was quite small. And of course, why they use this illustration is to say, you don't think that his impact was great, but he had a student who had the opportunity to have great impact around the world. And that's where I have always consoled myself, to not watch just for the outside implications, but look for the potentials that are hidden, that we do not see, that we will not probably see until eternity. And as a history buff, I'll love to see all the interconnections and influences. I might also, to my sadness, probably see disappointing opportunities that I did not pursue. But what is encouraging to us, and should be encouraging to us, is that when we think we are making little impact, we might be making the greatest impact of all. When we think we're as a small and lack of impactful as a mustard seed, we can make the greatest impact on the Church of Jesus Christ. Take care. God bless you today. We trust that these continue to be words of encouragement. We'll see you next time.